So we stand in front of Dollar Tree and basically
such as this thing here.
All right, I'm excited to have a guest. The metal right here, of course, everyone is.
Cuba is like they're under a dictator.
RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are live for a Monday edition of the People's Talk Show. Excited to connect. Looking forward to finding out what's on your radar. Hope everyone had a great weekend. And we're back at it again for another week of stories and just more unfortunate news. But then again, there has to be some good out there. So we're going to definitely try to shine some light on that. Hope everyone's doing well. Want to make sure I acknowledge any first-time viewers. Let me know where you're watching from. And then when the chat opens up, or the phone lines rather, we'll love to hear from you guys directly. So let me know where you're watching from via the chat. Definitely love to give you a quick shout out. And then we'll jump into some headlines here. I have maybe about 6 or 7 different stories that caught my attention throughout the day and over the weekend, all relevant to the global contagion underway. And I want to share with you something that Dr. Doom came out with from an op-ed piece, which typically I don't really pay much attention to Roubini, or was it Roubini? But just because a couple of buzzwords in there that kind of hit home with me in reference to some things I've been talking about. And so I thought I would just share my 2 cents on it and then move forward. But ultimately get to that possible new tool the Treasury is looking to utilize as far as providing a little bit of liquidity for a debt market that seems to be drying up as the Fed and other central banks raise rates. So I want to talk about that, as well as the dangers of stocks, as well as just the beginning of the pension meltdown based upon some information provided to us by a uber wealthy hedge fund guy who said it's just the beginning of what we will experience in the days ahead. So I don't want to be too doom and gloom, but just want to shoot it to you straight, give you what's really happening, and let you guys decipher what's best for you. But ultimately, at the end of one of those articles, shines light on some things that you should do. And I think that's something worth sharing as well. But more like we all know here what that is. And it has a lot to do with getting your weight up. It's just the very start of everything else on top of that. So anyway, welcome everybody. Let me acknowledge a couple of people in the chat, and then definitely would love to hear from you guys. Throw out some thoughts, ideas, suggestions. It is a talk show, so I want to make sure I give you guys a chance to let your voice be heard. So definitely throw out some ideas. Of course, I got maybe 3 or 4 subjects out of maybe 20 or 30 out there that I'm sure you guys have been keeping an eye on. But we got Barlight Broker checking in. We have Jay checking in as well. What else we got here? I'll just thumb through it real quick. See a lot of back and forth. Let me see. We got Rolf checking in as well. Appreciate you, man. What else we got here? I see Miss Love, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, checking in. Appreciate you. We got Joshua Carpenter checking in. We got Jay checking in as well. Grow Shadow 213 says, in 8 years, what in money has truly changed? National debt is up. What in money has truly changed? That's a great question. It all depends on what part of the world you live in. As I say before, a lot of people tend to focus on precious metals prices in particular because it's globally recognized in USD. But depending on what country you're in, people who've had the foresight to get out of their fiat currencies and get into weight have not suffered as much loss of purchasing power as those who have not. And so here in the U.S., we can say that, they continue to kick the can down the road. Nothing really changes. But ultimately, we know the momentum of things is definitely speeding up towards some type of event. Like it's no news story that you can go to where it doesn't talk about recession. And of course, we know we're well past that point. But, we have more of the mainstream economists right now talking about concerns that they have, due to the fact that most investors are experiencing something they've never dealt with in their entire lives of investing, which is that whole the 60-40 split, which we got now people call it for a 40-60 split as far as your retirement portfolio allocation. So once again, we're in uncharted waters. And so to your point, a lot has changed, and it's just a matter of time before the world finds out. Long-winded answer, but that's just my little 2 cents on that. I appreciate you for sharing that, though. Feel free to comment and let me know where I could be wrong, 100%. We got Mark the Silver Shark. How you doing, my friend? We got Uncle Robbie checking in. Appreciate you. Larissa Jackson checking in as well. Just giving some quick shout outs real quick to bless you guys for being a blessing to me. We got Dwayne Clark checking in. Says Scrooge McDuck swam in liquidity. Yeah, Scrooge McDuck. And it was always amazing how this guy got jumped off the top and just dived into some rock hard solid coins and managed to swim through them and then even spit coins out of his mouth. But we know that was fake. But then again, once again, he was sitting on some weight in his vaults. Mark, appreciate you, man. We got Funky Blue. Yeah, appreciate you. Jane checking in. Okay, fair amount of people here, man. Appreciate you guys for blessing me with your presence. And we got a question from X. It says, question, Mike. Economic Ninja stated we got 8 more weeks before stuff hits the fan. My thoughts. Man, once again, I personally, I didn't see that video, so I'm not sure what metrics he's using, but could it? Was he referring to some type of geopolitical event, which definitely is on the front, or something with the liquidity market? I mean, as far as the bonds are concerned, stocks. So any minute could be some type of an event. It more so is the people that's trying to orchestrate this transition. Will they lose grip of it and something happen out of the blue, or will they be able to pivot? And it's my suspicion that, things will definitely go belly up, more so when they're probably ready rather than just being caught off guard. And so I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to, but I would never place a time on anything that's strategically being planned out as a part of a great reset. So I hope not 8 weeks, but then once again, it could happen tomorrow. So you never know in reference to whatever you're talking about. And so today in particular, I want to talk about the pensions and the stock market and share with you some headlines and some articles, just letting you know what the billionaires and those people who are managing large stashes of cash, what they're seeing. And then that could be that couple of weeks or so that he's referring to, but not quite sure. But yet right now, depending on what part of the world you're in, stuff is hitting the fan. And so especially in the UK, there's more information coming out there and how next year, rolling blackouts and all types of things. So, but X, let me know exactly what he mentioned as far as that time frame there, just because to this moment, no one has been 100% accurate with calling anything other than giving us a ballpark figure of things to expect. And then when those things occur, of course, we see market turbulence, but nothing has come to an end. Just like regardless of whatever is coming our way in the future, it won't come to a complete end. It just be a readjustment for everybody as they begin to reset and try to restructure the entire monetary system. So, but let me know what you're thinking. Okay, let me see here. I see more people checking in. Appreciate you. If you have not, hit that thumbs up button. Hopefully more people are notified and want to make sure everybody has a chance to plug in and let their voice be heard. Jay says, even Alistair McLeod says his predictions have been way too early. Yeah, I don't doubt it. But then again, when it comes to a person who is hot right now in reference to having made some interesting calls, we have our brother Steve who put us on the one gentleman. Let me bring this up real quick because I did not have a chance to go listen to it just yet. But so far, he's highly sought after because of the calls that he's been able to make thus far. So I didn't get a chance to listen to this, but he might have some more information to share. But for those who might want to plug into him, here we have, let me bring it up on the screen here. I got too many windows open. Give me 1 second here. So here we have Aaron Brickman and Mike Adams discussing the fourth turning and the rise, and the rise and fall of civilization. So he's been pretty accurate thus far with his calls in reference to the last week or two and the dip in the equities market. And of course, the worst is yet to come in a nutshell. But anyway, if you guys want to get more drilled down to timing, thing like that, because if you're probably trading, then of course you probably want to know, but you're looking at the charts, I'm sure. But the average Joe who is not too technical savvy, biggest thing is just, minimize your risk, minimize your exposure, because I think right now people are really finding out that if it's not insured and guaranteed, then the risk falls on you. Even if the FDIC say that they'll reinsure your currency up to 250,000, to this day, that threshold has never been tested because the last time we experienced a banking event, great financial crises, I want to say that the threshold was 100,000, if I'm not incorrect, and to basically convince people not to run to the banks, they over promised by saying 250,000. So once again, we've never touched that. We never even come close to that figure of deposits as far as people running and trying to get their money out of there. But I'm seeing more and more people, Steve Van Meter and a lot of other guys out there with much bigger channels than mine, just really out there saying bank run any day now, bank run, bank run, bank run. So, hey, at some point, somebody's going to be right. But once again, like I've been said before, if you are awake and aware that you knew that these events would occur, so hopefully you minimize your exposure and your risk in reference to those unreliable promises to receive what you think is yours. So anyway, enough rant. Okay, let me before I move forward, I want to make sure I acknowledge Bullion Max, and of course, for those who have not, make sure you get plugged in. I'm working on some more giveaways, but we have the Bullion Max 5-ounce giveaway, which comes to an end this Wednesday. So I'm going to announce the winner on air. So if you haven't, definitely in the description, join that giveaway there, trying to promote and shine light on the people's money, which is silver. So definitely jump in if you guys want to have a chance to win. And then also, food supply chains, there's more and more stories coming out on issues we're going to face come next year and the year beyond that. So for Patriots, definitely have the emergency preps on top of everything else you do. And so those are just things I want to make sure I continue to highlight, just because you can never not have enough weight. You can never not have enough calories on your reserve. So anyway, let me share with you this information here, and then we'll jump into the headlines. And I promise to stop ranting as much, and then we'll get to some questions. So stick around.
Here's a great opportunity for you to get your weight up. Let's face it, our purchasing power and our currency has been destroyed in real time. That's why I'm excited to tell you about my partnership with Bullion Max. Bullion Max will ship gold and silver directly to your door for you to hold at your home or in your own safe. To help you get started, I worked out a special offer with them. Get Bullion Max Silver Starter Kit at employee pricing. Just go to bullionmax.com/RTD. This kit includes 5 of the most desirable silver products to invest in, including the American Silver Eagle and the Silver Australian Kangaroo. This offer is limited to 1 per household while supplies last, so get yours today and take advantage of this opportunity to get your weight up. Now, you can't just stop at getting your weight up. You also got to get your calories up, because definitely a food shortage is underway between droughts, flooding, and all the climate issues being thrown our way. America's food supply is near its breaking point. That's why survival food is more important than ever. Create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriot survival food kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking about 25 years super survival food, hand-packed right in the family-owned facility in the USA. The kits are compact, sturdy, water-resistant. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. Go to 4patriots.com/RTD to get your 3-month survival kit. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus 10 free gifts and free shipping. To take advantage of this opportunity, go to 4patriots.com/RTD to build your own stockpile today, because beyond the weight, you're going to need your calories as well. Links in the description.
All right, let's jump into some headlines here. So I want to just share with you real quick. I pulled out about 5 or 6 articles. A lot of the articles here are either shared on a Telegram or the Twitter account, but I just highlighted some things that stood out to me as I was reading through them, just to kind of paint a not necessarily a dark and doom gloom type of outlook, but just let you know what is inevitable, and how in this article here in particular, it lays out a very dark and gloom decade. And well before now, I think maybe 2-3 years ago, I started talking about how this upcoming decade is going to be a decade of challenges like we've never seen before. Then we start hearing about the Great Reset and how they plan the whole reset of humanity for the most part, all the way from the economy to society to the government model, you name it, ESG. And so a couple things stood out to me from this article here. As I mentioned before, not a big fan of Dr. Doom, but he's given more than enough calls, and at some point they usually come to pass. And what he's saying now for this decade should definitely, catch your eye. So real quick, want to just thumb through some things here. Bear with me. And of course, you can find out more if you want to, but I just want to thumb through them. But it says, Dr. Doom, Nouriel Roubini warns the next decade could, more than likely will, bring massive insolvencies and cascading financial crises. So once again, not to scare nobody, just to show you what's happening. So it starts off talking about his prior forecast and how he's been in front of the IMF and all these other people, basically saying that, hey, back in before the great financial crisis, saying that, the housing market is going to tank, it's going to bust, that whatever. Nobody believed him at that time, but they said, but hey, it did come true. So his next prediction about what's coming now is right here in yellow. And it says here, Roubini has previously argued that the U.S. economy will fall into a deep recession by the end of this year. We all know we're in one now. So it's going so far as to call those who believe that a soft landing is still possible delusional. We all know that's not possible. Now, the economist is claiming that we're headed for a stagflationary crisis, unlike anything we've ever seen. And so when I saw this word stagflationary crisis, for those who've been around, and I'm even with Mario, I was talking about how I see like a hyper stagflationary environment coming for our future just because of the uncertainties and how the whole globalization concept of trying to make sure that all nations were cooperating together, as all that unravels, there's going to be so much uncertainty as well as overall instability and being able to get goods and services as well as to coordinate monetary and fiscal policy in unison. Like once this whole central bank interest rate hike that they're doing together, once it breaks, they're going to be all over the place. And of course, I think that's why, in order to try to bring things back together, once it collapses, that's why they're trying to get this interoperable CBDC model going that the IMF just came out with not long ago, saying that they made some groundbreaking, discoveries. Oh, really? They need those currencies at some point to work together so that they can issue in that one world currency down the line. But anyway, man. Anyway, stuff just never gets old. So hyperstagflationary event is what I was talking about forever. So when he said that, I'm like, wow, let's see what else he's talking about. So it says, Roubini said that a toxic economic combination of low growth and high inflation will lead to, quote, massive insolvencies and cascading financial crises worldwide in the coming years. And so right now, insolvencies, we're witnessing nations in the emerging markets right now crumble because of their inability to pay debt. So it's happening right now. And as far as the financial crises, just look at what's happening in Europe, what's happening in the UK, what's happening, hell, you name it. Name a country that's not going through some uncertainty right now. So we don't have to wait years to see what he's talking about. It says his argument is based on the idea that we're entering a new era for the global economy after hyper globalization. And it says Roubini believes that our new era of great stagflationary instability will be fueled by inflationary trends like aging populations. I got a lot of thoughts on these too, but climate change, we know that's the whole part of climate finance. Supply disruptions, we know how that's done intentionally with all these burning warehouses and all this stuff. They're trying to make sure they own everything. It says greater protectionism and restoring of industry. It says, and to fight inflation in this environment, he argues that the central banks will be forced to raise interest rates back to historical norms after years of moving in the opposite direction. So basically saying central banks will continue to press their foot on the gas until this damn thing breaks. And he says, quote, rapid normalization of monetary policy and rising interest rates will drive highly leveraged households, companies, financial institutions, and governments into bankruptcy and default. And so what's the most indebted nation on the planet? Household as well as government, right here in the United States of America. And so it's good to say that because of these events here, it's going to be a great unwinding within our country in the years to come. And it says, essentially, Roubini believes that central banks are trapped between a rock and a hard place due to our current inflationary environment because they're fighting deflation. And so here's some good news on things he advised, what things he recommend rather. It says Roubini concluded this piece with some sage advice for investors. Avoid stocks and long-term bonds. Run from stocks and long-term bonds. He says, quote, investors need to find assets that will hedge against inflation, political and geopolitical risks, and environmental damage, whatever that's worth. This includes short-term government bonds, inflationary bonds, gold and other precious metals, and real estate that is resilient to environment damage. And so the reason I wanted to read all of that, just because beyond the, when it's not even doom and gloom, is just realistic. Like we know that the economy is turning upside down right now, but he basically summarized that up with saying things you should stay away from: stocks, long-term bonds. Just stay clear of those things, because that is those are going to be the focal points of this fake rally or fake stability that they're trying to portray as like things are going to be okay. Like stocks and bonds, as long as people look at those things, because that's the whole retirement portfolio aspect. Everybody's investments are predicated on those nominal prices of those two assets there remaining at a level where there's confidence, and it's unraveling very fast. And then this plays into my next article, that I want to share with you just to show how he's not the only one out here preaching about things to be on the lookout for. And so here is something that will definitely not just be stuck to the UK. He says hedge fund titan warns UK pension crisis is just the start. And real quick, I highlighted some things here. It says for one of the world's largest hedge funds, the UK pension fund crisis is just starting as central banks around the world raise interest rates and turn off quantitative easing. It says the UK LDI industry, which is that new financial product they created over the last 10 plus years, more than likely to try to coop some of the growth that they couldn't get in a negative interest rate environment, technically speaking. It says the LDI industry is the first casualty of the end of the money for nothing era, the first dead fish to float to the surface as rising central bank interests act like dynamite fishing in global asset markets. So basically, he's saying that this whole product, the LDI industry, is the first dead fish to float to the surface as far as, basically the world realizing that, hey, there's some problems brewing from what's going on. And he's saying that that's just one fish and there's a lot more to come. Just because we don't know the depth of the things they created to try to prop this system up and the profit off of it, of course, based upon other people's capital. It says here, the so-called liability-driven investments are a form of financial engineering that involve derivatives and allow defined benefit pension schemes to jack up leverage and juice returns. So it says financial engineering. They're just making this stuff up on the fly to try to make it seem as if like there's a viable product there that people can buy and invest in. But it's all predicated on it being in the derivatives market, which we don't even know the extent of how crazy that stuff is. So this is just a little bit more in depth as to what he's saying is just the first dead fish to float. Real quick here, it says JP Morgan Chase estimate that the losses from so-called liability-driven investments deployed by pension schemes has grown to as much as 150 billion pounds since early August. So just a couple weeks ago. These are just some of the losses that's surfacing. It says the pensions were acting like hedge fund managers with much less knowledge or nimbleness. It says LDI investors are forced to sell to pay for their losses, and it does not look like it will stop. So literally, it's just started. Next in line could be the European sovereign bond markets. He's quoted as saying the painful path will bring casualties, and it will be interesting to see how central banks react when these casualties float to the surface. And so here you have from a billionaire who's in that realm, giving you the hardcore facts and saying that the whole UK pension system is just the beginning, just because it exposed one area of a financially engineered product that they created for themselves. It blew up, and it's just not going to stay there. So watch this real quick. I'm going to share this with you here because this just lets you know how severe things really are. And it's my suspicion that as a result of the UK market blowing up, that's why the US Treasury, aka Janet Yellen, came out talking about we should go ahead and just buy back some of the U.S. treasuries to provide a little bit of liquidity. Oh, I wonder what type of LDI industry exists here in the U.S. that we have no clue about. And so I'm sure this is the primary focal point for a lot of people talking about the debt market these days. But it said this is not QE or QT. This is none of those. Why the U.S. Treasury is exploring debt buybacks. And so real quick, I'll save you all that. This came out on Friday. But one thing is that the plan, if adopted, would mark a milestone in the roughly 22.6 trillion U.S. government debt market, the world's largest. And it says here, by providing a new tool for the Treasury to help aid market liquidity. So mind you, this financially engineered products are unraveling. And so central banks, governments, are scrambling to try to keep this thing together. So they not only created these products, and of course everything comes to an end at some point, but now the Federal Reserve, in order to avoid a UK pension situation here in the US with LDIs and all the other dead fish that might be floating pretty soon, they're trying to come in just to provide a little bit of comfort well outside the central bank's tightening realm, just so that things don't blow up it's going to blow up anyway, but blow up as fast. It's my suspicion that they're literally trying to get more than enough lifeline out of this current structure to get into next summer when the Fed Now system is ready to be rolled out. Because if and when it breaks at that point, it'll be easier for them to say, hey, we got a solution. We have a new payment structure with a new interoperability to connect with other banks to be able to provide liquidity around the world. And on top of it, we already have the protocol ready to be able to issue direct stimulus to the people through our CBDC. Once you go ahead and make that change in legal tender laws, we'll be ready to roll. So anyway, this is just stuff that just as the dominoes fall, it's easy to begin to put all this together to have it make sense. But it says the proposal comes after the Bank of England was forced to step in with an emergency program to temporarily buy its government debt and to give UK pension funds more time to unwind sour bets. So we know they ended that and they let things float. And so I can go on and on. But ultimately speaking, the Treasury is trying to come up with a new tool to buy back old debt that just there's no buyers. Like, who would want to buy an old debt that's already underwater? Like, literally it's junk, technically speaking. So why not use some of the government's funds? More than likely, I was trying to find out more details, but more than likely, my assumption is that they would probably be trying to grab some funds from the TGA account, because I remember we talked about this a while ago, how during the Trump era, they had racked up, $1.7 trillion of excess savings that they needed to spend. And so, of course, they spent it down. And, of course, I think since we had one or two acts, Inflation Reduction Act and some type of act, to where they basically counterfeited legally, sold some debt. And now here they get back up to, looks like they're about $782 billion. So assuming they would use some of those funds to be able to buy back some of that old debt, just to slow things down and keep the pension system here in the U.S. basically from being exposed and on all those other dead fishes that I was talking about floating to the surface. So anyway, that's just that. But what else? I got a couple more articles here. Let me see what else I want to give you guys. Here's just a little something here. I'll spare you guys the rest. Then I'll open the phone lines. But here is something that, it's never good news. So this is fresh today out of the UK. It says, National Grid warns Britons of blackouts on really cold evenings. And so it says here, National Grid chief executive was warned British households to prepare for blackouts between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on really cold days in January and February. So they're already looking ahead, basically saying that between 4 and 7, lights out, people. Lights out, people, my people in the UK. So once again, that's why it's never been more important to prepare for events like this, because at some point it's going to make its way here to the US. That's just the way I believe they would like to have it, so that they can make us, the people, more dependent upon them and whatever solution they try to throw out to us. So extra sources of power, anything of that magnitude to heat your house, things of that nature. Hope you got it already, is what I'm getting at. All right, so enough of that, man. I can go on and on. I got a couple articles, but not enough, not too much bad news. But before I move forward, let's get the phone lines open. Feel free to give me a call. Let's talk. Want to hear what's on your radar. Of course, I got a couple other stories I can throw your way, but I'll spare you guys that for now. So if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel, and then give me a call, 313-462-0027. Let me know what's on your mind. What do you keep an eye on? We could talk about Ukraine. We got, I think 6 MiG somethings scattered to Belarus for, we got NATO doing nuclear war drills and you name it, man. These cats, they are desperately itching for a war. And I heard somebody mention over the weekend, I listened to a podcast, and they're saying that we have no genuine growth whatsoever in the global economy. And what better way to generate growth other than to go to war, to destroy everything so that they can disperse the funds to build it back up. And I'm thinking like, wow, that does not sound like something they've been wanting to do, build back better. What better way to build back better than to destroy everything? And I was just thinking, let me just share with you. It's been a while since I've just shared some thoughts, put my tinfoil hat on, go way left field. But one thing that caught my attention is how there was a lot of nations over the last couple of days telling all their citizens in Ukraine to come home. They're shutting down a lot of embassies. And so I'm thinking, like, are they gearing up for a possible false flag or some type of an event like that in the Ukraine with some type of mini nuke, and then blame it on, what I'm saying? Blame it on, who they gonna blame it on? Oh, everybody know who they gonna blame it on. So I'm thinking, like, just is that a part of the plan to basically use Ukraine as more of a test nation in a sense? And so here is just the headline here amongst many others, but it says China urges citizens to leave Ukraine and surrounding areas immediately. Now, why would China be putting this out unless they got word or something? Or, of course, it's I'm more in the camp that all these governments are literally working together. And of course, you can never pull off a great heist like they're trying to do unless you got the good guy and the bad guy. And we all know who's been painted what, depending on what side of the world you're living on. But when you see stuff like this, I'm thinking, like, wow, like, is something brewing? So be on the lookout. I mean, you just never know. So let's just play this out in real time. So say, for example, something happens, something small. More than likely, it could be one of them Project Blue Beams where it could be an illusionary, not even real. But then again, just like when the health situation jumped off, you saw every news headline, every TV screen showed people walking and falling over in the streets. And so it was the buildup of fear. And so could there be a possible, fake event in Ukraine that's going to be plastered all over the screens? And of course, they're going to say, Russia, Russia, Russia. And then NATO responds, US responds. And they try to keep it small just because there's no real winners in a massive war, especially when it deals with nuclear weaponry. But just my thoughts, man. I'm just trying to narrate this and just try to make sense of it as best I can. But anyway, phone lines are open. Give me a call or highlight any thoughts or ideas out there that you guys have and let me know what's going on with you. And this is the time. This is the time for you to call. Let your voice be heard. Yeah, I got a couple articles too, so believe me, I came prepared with stuff to talk about. So your boy never gonna be caught speechless. Anyway, let's what else you got? I want to hear from you guys. Thoughts and ideas, some suggestions. If not, I will go to some articles. As nuclear power can warm your city for a couple of seconds, then everything goes dark and you're in heaven or hell. Yeah, well, it would be quick. And so even just the mainstream news talking about nuclear, that's more than enough to where people should really begin, looking at, their long-term destination from a spiritual standpoint, like, because we don't know at what moment something could go off. Or I was watching the weekends, like, for those in the Telegram group, I encourage you, if you haven't, join the Telegram group, because a lot of information shared, not even necessarily monetary information, but it appears that in the community group, more people are concerned with the health situation than they are the money side of things. Because everybody here know what's really going on. But for one thing that caught me by surprise, or it didn't, but it's interesting how you only hear about people dropping or having heart attacks or seizures if they're famous. We don't hear about your everyday mom and pop who probably took the same situation and so happened to succumb to the shot. But then again, the guy from Haiti in Paris who fell on the stage and died. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was looking at his Instagram and everything like that, and he had no clue that was his last day. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing, Mike?
Hey, doing good, my friend. What's in your mind?
Hey, I started thinking, when the crap really hits the fan, we do all this covert stuff, we go into Iraq and Libya and who knows what we're doing, stealing stuff, making sure that the petrodollar stays intact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say that it really gets ugly, like, the 1930s where people can't eat. Don't we have, I'm not for this, but, just being real, we can go down to Venezuela and take that oil.
More than likely, if they wanted to, they would. But my suspicion is that whatever pain that they're trying to inflict, they want it to be long lasting so that it can force the population to submit. So they could eat, I'm sure, because I've seen more than enough video footages of 18-wheeler trucks driving into mountains with huge drop-offs. So they're stashing food and everything else in mountains. So they've been putting away stuff for whatever's coming for years now. So the food and stuff is going to be there. It's just what timing do they bring it out? And of course, when something hits, they're not going to bring it out the next week. They'll probably bring it out the next year, just so enough people would die off naturally. And then the remaining population would submit with no hands down. You can't do nothing unless you sign up and take the chip type of situation. You know what I'm saying? So they want to create massive desperation amongst the populace. So they wouldn't even think about going to war with just getting oil right now. Because I think they're literally trying to cut off our energy altogether. Like stuff they're rolling out now against antitrust act against the OPEC for them basically not want to give us cheap oils. Like, come on now. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, at some point, I think you're talking about after they wipe out a significant percentage of the population.
Mm-hmm.
Is this stuff they're storing away for people or just for the elite?
I
for
think
the regular man or for the elite?
I would imagine that the politicians get first dibs, and then all those associated with having lined up their pockets, the special interest groups and NGOs and all those entities, they are on list too. And then as far as dispersing it to the populace, that's last. So it's going to go to the people who know it's there, first of all, who has access. So it's going to be about who you know and what you've done to get access to that stuff. So being a person who speaks out against the government agenda will not put you in front of line. You may not be in the line. So but that's just my suspicion, man. I could be 100% wrong.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to be having a hard time controlling the American public. I mean, I hope there's not a lot of bloodshed, and I hope we don't fight each other. I mean, we need to go clear out the government buildings and grab them clowns, or start, when they're gone, they go on a run, go hide, and we'll start our own, start over. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I'm just going to focus more on spiritual, try to follow Revelations to see where we're at spiritual and try to get as many people saved as we can. And this is help as many people as we can. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for growth in the church.
Oh, 100%, man. That's our mission, man. That's what it all boils down to. Like, this is all temporary in nature. It's more so about being prepared for that when if, because especially I was talking about a guy from Haiti who, this past weekend, he didn't know that on stage that will be his last moment on this planet. You know what I'm saying? So don't know where he stood, but it's like, man, like that's for anybody at any moment. So to me, that's more important ultimately than talking about stuff we can't really control anyway. You know what I'm saying? You can control, helping people understand their final destination in a sense. So yeah. Hey, appreciate you, man.
All right. Take care, Mike.
Yeah, be good. Yeah. That's what it is, man. All right. Give me a call. I did miss some calls. Forgive me. I get caught up in my rants. Let me see. Somebody says Bill Gates calling for civil war in the midterms. Yeah, Mr. Gates. This guy, man, he's pray for your enemies. That's that's what the good book says. Pray for your enemies. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it's like, sometimes I think about like when I know based upon all the information I've gathered, who's trying to orchestrate these plans, like to still walk in love with them. That takes a man of faith. You got to be a man that is sturdy in your spiritual foundation to be able to pray for your enemies, willfully, like with all sincerity. Anybody out there love praying for the enemy? Let me get a thumbs up in the chat. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure, Corpus Christi. How's it going?
LBP, doing good, man. What's on your mind?
Man, everything's going to be fine, Mike. It's going to be all right. Don't worry.
I take your word for it.
Yeah, you know how it is. It always turns out the right way,
Yeah.
Just believe in who, and they'll take care of you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, everything will work out in accordance the way it was supposed to. So it just may catch us by surprise, depending on how it plays out. But once again, it's a part of life, man. Enjoy it while you got it.
It's all good. Hey, Mike, I want to give you an update. I'm a Mexican citizen now, Mike. I got my birth certificate finally.
You did. Congratulations.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. And I went on Friday. Last Friday, I went to the consulate, and they hooked me up, Mike. You got to go do it. I'll sponsor you, Mike.
Bet you. Okay, I have to check into that more, but I wouldn't mind, exploring that opportunity as well, because it wouldn't hurt. So, what's your long-term plans with it? How do you plan on utilizing, or just having it as like emergency sake, or what?
Honestly, Mike, I want to buy property out there, but I don't know. It's kind of sketchy out in Mexico. You go back and there'll be a guy, they call them parachutists, in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
They'll squat on your land, so you just got to be careful.
Yeah. And then on top of that, they don't have a open gun and user friendly gun law do they?
No, they don't. There's only one place in the whole country where you can legally buy a gun, and it has to be a 380 caliber or smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that gun friendly, Mike. See, honestly, so that kind of shies me away from Mexico too. Those laws.
I get you some slingshots and some bow and arrows, man.
What can I do with that, Mike? I get those.
You can tag one person.
Those, I don't know. I'll get those, the ball in the cup. I'll start swinging that shit.
Yeah, man.
Or some prop.
Good luck with that, man. But no, keep us posted, man. I'm definitely curious to hear how things develop there, man. Of course, connect with your man in Yashuba. Go holler at him. He's doing some big things down there, man. So that'd be a good guy to connect with.
Yeah. I don't know. I gotta see his papers, Mike. I don't trust that guy.
Oh,
he
man.
might be there illegally, Mike. To get deported back to America.
If he's there illegally, he sounds like he's spending a lot of money on some land that may not be 100% his if that's the case. So I'd imagine he's did everything on the up and up just because he got a lot to lose based upon all the stuff he's sharing with us. But hey, man,
I'm gonna call the Gringo Migra on his ass.
Hey, man, appreciate you calling, man.
All right, Mike. All right, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Tim, and I am from Wisconsin.
Tim from Wisconsin. What's going on with you, my friend?
Just two things real quick is it just seems with...
You broke up there. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, internet went out for a second. Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just that Joe Biden, he's like a puppet, and he's just being told what to do,
Yeah. Well, we can all see his cue cards whenever he does a sit-down speech with somebody.
So the deep state, they're like since 1913, they're the same people, and is my understanding. It's the same people, the Rothschilds, and that's what my understanding is.
Yeah, it's those and a couple other people, but they're all in a big boys club, and we weren't invited, unfortunately.
Right, and it's not just this country, but that's everything. Now the second thing is that when they want to do something, they use big words, quantitative easing, transitory. It's like that's the other thing that they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called financial or monetary engineering or monetary experimentation. They're experimenting, utilizing currencies as well as all the other financial products they created to sucker us into having all of our life energy and effort and skills tied into something that we don't even own. And they told us that if you put it aside for 30, 40 years, it'll be there when you're ready to retire and you'll live happily ever after. That's what they told us. I guess that was the American dream. I'm not sure how much of a dream it is, but yeah.
But just seems to me the bottom line is they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. And they're lining us up. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Hey, man. Appreciate you calling, my friend.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Be good. Okay. Good stuff. So one thing I do want to cover, Mr. Ye, Kanye West. I can't help but follow his episodes or his journey just because he's out here speaking a lot of talk that counters what I guess the mainstream narrative should be. And so he's getting himself in some trouble. But then again, if he wants to lead that charge, I'm sure there'll be more people to follow because he's waking people up in real time. So he was just on a show, Drink Champs, on the Revolt YouTube channel, which is Sean Combs' channel. And it was 3 hours. I didn't even watch it, but within 24 hours, they took it down. And even the host, I saw a headline, he apologized to the public for having Kanye on his show assumably because he just dropped too much truth. Like he just spoke too much truth in reference to calling out the Jewish community and everything like that. And I guess pissed a lot of people off. And so he ruffled some feathers like he always does. And it looks like as a result of that, he decided to go out and buy a social media. So let me share this with you real quick. So Kanye West goes out and buys a, where'd it go? Parler. So anyway, so he bought Parler. And of course, right now the mainstream media is trying to say this, they love using buzzwords, conservative, right wing social media platform. So it says Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, agrees to buy conservative social media platform Parler, company says. So we'll see how far this goes. But Parler was already in the doghouse from a year or two ago. They shut down. And I think when they shut down, in order to get back up and running, they compromised on some things. I don't think Parler is as clean cut and dry and user friendly as they were prior to. But we'll see how this pans out. But for those who are on Parler, go connect with your boy. I'm on Parler, so I share stuff there as well. Trying to be in many places I can at one time. And so just, share your thoughts on that. What if you guys got some thoughts? I think if he continues to keep speaking his truth, then he will, like I said before, he's going to find some problems out there. Clearly he knows that. But so next, I think he might even start his own bank just because he took off that $145 million from JP Morgan. And of course, now he's walking around with a Satoshi Nakamoto hat. So he might even be pubbing up Bitcoin or whatever else. So who knows? But I thought that was entertaining. Okay, let's talk. Let me get this out the way. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Mike from Pacoima, California.
Mike from Cali. What's going on, my friend?
You also forgot to mention about Kanye. JP Morgan Chase dropped him.
Of course. I just mentioned that right when I answered for you.
No right as the phone was ringing then. Yeah. That I've got a bank account with Chase, and I'm thinking about just taking it all out.
Yeah, so I think
money's not supposed to be political.
Right, but
it's supposed to be across the board,
Correct. I agree. And so the biggest thing is cross the board as long as you're in line. But if you get out of line, then they got a problem. So if you stay in line, be a good boy, then you're good.
That limits the fungibility of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's never been there anyway. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's in somebody else's possession. So it's not even, and of course, most people don't know that once you put it in their possession, it belongs to them and you're just a creditor to them. So, and on top of the banking situation.
Unsecured creditor, right?
Yeah. What's on your mind, my friend? What else is going on with you?
I was also thinking about like a deflationary crash and what that would mean for metal. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking to myself here, there's a good possibility, the quote unquote dollar price of the metal could drop like significantly. Yeah. But in that drop, you got to see what would that translate into purchasing power.
Right.
So back in the day, it would be a nickel for a bag of apples and stuff like that. I'm thinking prices, like if there would be an extreme deflation, the value of, because it would go back to the dollar denomination as in 0.77 an ounce of silver and like an ounce of silver would go back to being like $1. But that dollar would buy you 100 times more than it could now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because everybody's thinking it could be Venezuela, and it could be. I'm just thinking the flip side of the coin.
Right.
What could be on the opposite side? So there could be a possibility where a nickel could get you like 20 pounds of apples. Eventually, who knows?
Right. I mean, that's if you can find apples. Just because my assumption would be that if there was a deflationary crisis, people would probably look to buy more than they probably would normally, just because of uncertainty. So it'd be a scarcity issue at that point, because it'll be higher demand for those goods, just because people will be just buying up more than they actually need, just out of concerns of it not being there tomorrow, type of thing. So, but that's even if they got currency to buy.
That's one inflation hedge. I never hear anybody talking about food trees, food plants, the best inflation hedge you can get. You buy a plant, it will provide you the value of your currency in no time.
Right. Right. And that's why a lot of people talk about gardening and things like that. You know, a lot of people out there who are well versed in that have been talking about that as well. And of course, having seeds and things like that just to have in case you never know, or already have something growing. So.
Well, one more thing and I'll let you go.
No problem. Go ahead.
With the gardening aspect. Yeah, you need to get your gardening up. Also, you need to learn how to scavenge. You need to figure out what are the natural plants in your area that you can eat and forage. Because there's food everywhere, and every lawn there's some kind of food. You learn the plants that you can eat, and you'll see it everywhere. Right. So
good point. Hey man,
that's a ace in the back pocket.
Appreciate you, man.
I won't go hungry. Food might be not in the stores to buy at any price, but I won't go hungry.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling.
So, yeah. Hey, have a good one.
Take be good. Mike. Good stuff, man. Great back and forth. Appreciate you, man, for calling in. This is the People's Talk Show, so feel free to give me a call, man. Definitely love to hear what's on your radar. Lots of thoughts out there. I know we got some experts in a variety of subjects as well as a variety of fields, so feel free to call and educate the community. Don't sit on those golden nuggets of wisdom and not let your voice be heard, because somebody needs to hear from you. What else we got? Knowledge is the best survival food. Yeah, knowledge will take you far, my friend. Knowledge will take you far. What else we got? Kanye's already cracked it to Mozart status, etc. Long lifetime. Yeah, Kanye's sitting on some. He's done quite well for himself. His clothing line or shoe line is, put him in a very unique position. And of course, he's trying to set himself up to run for president in 2024. So once again, my suspicion is that between now and 2024, I'm not too confident that we'll actually have a presidential election. So, but time will tell. Kanye is Hillary knocking, doesn't answer. Keystone canned meats expires in 2027. Keystone canned meats expire in 2027. Hey, Watchman. Okay. Something to check into there. TB just in the building. Right when we checking out, TB. Hope all is well. All right, people. We're about the 52-minute mark. Appreciate all those who chimed in and shared their 2 cents. If you have not, click the link in the description. Join the giveaway. Try to put 5 ounces in somebody's hand by Wednesday. I'm going to announce the winner on Wednesday night's live stream. And then also connect with us on Twitter, Telegram, and all the other channels so you can stay plugged in. And if you are a content creator, please share your content on those platforms so people can learn and see what you got going on. I fear homelessness. I don't fear death. I don't. Yeah. Okay. That's where, at the end of the day, it all boils down to what I consider and what's been brought to my attention is the importance of being led by and relying upon and leaning upon the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So it's just something that was brought to me as of recently, just because I was entering into, just focusing too much on the unfortunate news. You forget the anchor that's in the good news. And so literally I was checked in my spirit and reminded of the importance of leaning on the Holy Spirit for guidance, because that's ultimately going to be our best helper and comforter now and in the days ahead. And that's a gift to us now that's you're able to lean upon as a believer in Christ. That's one of the benefits of being born again, is having taken on God's Spirit inside of yours for help in times of this nature. So never fear. Be of good courage, my good people. All right, my friends. Josh Sigurdson, what's going on, buddy? Hope all is well with you, my friend. Got to get you back on the show. Definitely. Let's connect sometime soon. Hope all is well with you. If you haven't, go check my man out. Doing great work. Appreciate you for joining us. About to sign out, though. But all right, people, as always, appreciate you for hanging out with us. And back at it tomorrow, same time, same place. As always, it's going to be something to talk about. But as always, continue to get your prayer game up, get your weight up, and do everything in between to make sure that you're one step ahead of all the nonsense as things unravel. And we'll be okay. All right, my good people, be blessed, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Peace.